Hello everyone and welcome to Flickering Myth TV, an extension of the website flickeringmyth.com. My name is EJ Marino and right now we are diving in to a brand new review of the film Onward. This is one of those rare times I don't have a lot to say about a movie. There's not a lot of positives and there's not a lot of negatives. Onward just gave me a big meh feeling, which is strange for Pixar. This is a studio that's on top of their game. Even their most lackluster efforts are still better than other animated films, but something about Onward just left me so I didn't have a lot of enthusiasm walking out of the movie theater, but I wasn't angry, I wasn't upset with the film. It's just one of those middle of the road fine movies, which again is totally acceptable, but when it's coming from Pixar, you just have a higher bar set for the studio, so when it comes lower, especially as low as this movie, it is really jarring. That is not to say Onward is a bad movie. I found it to be perfectly enjoyable, but that's the problem. It was just enjoyable. It did not have the emotion, it did not have the stunning animation, the crazy stories like other Pixar movies do. I honestly think this could have been easily placed on the Disney+ streaming service, just a quick little, oh, that's a fun viewing at home, and it would have been fine. But a major studio release for this movie, it just doesn't come up to par with their own films. I'm not even comparing this to Into the Spider-Verse or Kubo and the Two Strings, not these artful films. I'm just gonna take it with its own Pixar competitors. Onward is nothing like Coco, Zootopia, any of these kind of more progressive, these more interesting animated films. This movie doesn't have any of that, and that's what makes this so shocking, so much of a letdown, because this has a lot of potential. This story is amazing. It's so cool. I would actually like to see, going back to Disney+, a streaming service for this universe. It could be done, but a movie, and this movie specifically, it's not it, Chief. The story follows two elf brothers, one voiced by Tom Holland, the other voiced by Chris Pratt, as they try to bring their dad back by using magic for one day. Tom Holland's character never really got to spend time with his father. He passed away when he was still I think in the womb, where the older brother, Chris Pratt's character, has had some time with the father, which is interesting. So you have these two dynamics of the brothers and what they do to venture out to have that bond with their father. One wants to meet them for the first time, the other wants to say goodbye. I really like the idea of that, but it never had the weight. It never had the emotional impact you would expect from this story. There is some moments where I went, "Aw, that's cute," but not that Pixar, the Coco, the Up, that oh my god, I'm feeling every emotion. Even Toy Story 3 gave me more emotions. Everything that happened was perfectly fine, perfectly acceptable, but it just didn't have that punch. It didn't have that that you would expect from this story, especially. This story is really touching, the idea of it, what's presented, but I don't know if it was the voice acting, the story itself, or the way it was filmed and directed, but it never went that extra mile, and that's so shocking. Now, something I really did enjoy about this film is the love letters to things like Dungeons & Dragons and Magic the Gathering. It's so interesting to see them kind of dive into those worlds, pay homages to that. With the fantasy fairy tale setting, they use things like a Dungeons & Dragons book as the lore, as the gospel truth of how to handle magic and how to handle this universe. Thought that was so interesting. I was really kind of impressed with that. Now, I don't love the fact that this is a fairy tale set in a modern setting. There's so many jokes that get kind of tiresome, oh, the dragon's always under my feet, kind of like the dog would be. Oh, they go to a pawn shop, but how the pawn shop is run is different. It's a little bit of an homage to medieval times. There's just so many of those little things that I was oh, these jokes don't go so far. Where the opposite, I would have liked a Shrek route, where it is a fantasy, kind of a period piece kind of moment, but with those modern flares, with those little extra touches, but having it the reverse, having set in modern times where we had to keep saying the same jokes of that's supposed to be like a fairy tale, but it's modern. Ha ha ha. It got really tiresome really quickly. And I think that's one of the things that kind of kept me from being fully engaged was I like half of this thing and then you give me the other half and I don't like it. Again, that's why I feel so in the middle about the movie, is because they do one thing that's good and then they do one thing that's not so good. And it's tough, this is so weird to have such mixed feelings about a Pixar movie. Speaking of a Pixar movie, this movie is as beautifully animated as all the other ones. It's not shocking. That's something I wish I was still amazed by. And there are Pixar movies that are still beautiful to look like. Toy Story 4, as much problems I had with the story of that movie is stunning. Everything looks real. Here, there's a cartoon element. Everything looks really good. The hair textures especially. That's what really stood out to me, was how great hair looked. But it's a Pixar movie, so it's supposed to look good, and it does look good. It doesn't, again, nothing goes the extra mile in this movie, and it doesn't have to, but when Pixar sets himself on such a high bar, you expect him to stay up here, and this movie's kind of down here. Again, not so bad, but I can't review it, honestly, without saying it is a little bit of a letdown. Alright guys, that was it for my review of Onward. Probably the most mixed I've ever been about a Disney-Pixar movie. It had so much potential. I would like to see maybe this universe expanded more, but with the movie presented, it's just okay. What did you guys think of this review? What do you guys think of Onward? Are you excited about this movie? Even with my negative review, I still think you should enjoy yourself at a movie theater or seeing this when it ends up on a streaming service not too long from now. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Subscribe to Flickering Myth because we make videos like this every single week, and give me a thumbs up because YouTube takes those way too seriously. Alright guys, let's talk about Onward and Pixar movies down below.